All right, we're here with U.S. Women's National Team midfielder Lindsey Horan. How's it going, Lindsey?
Doing great.
Does this feel different second time around? Is there a different feeling? I mean, obviously you have a very different role with the team than you did in 2019. Just talk me through how it feels, kind of even just going through media day, but this is now the second time.
Yeah, it feels very different. I think a little less nerves going into this tournament. Obviously, I've been in one before, so there's a little comfort in that. But also what you said, I have a different role in this team, a little bit more of a veteran now and a leader. So my view in going into this World Cup is, what I need to, be, emotions and nerves and all of that. I need to be at a good point to help, the new younger players coming in. We have so many players that this is their first World Cup. So I need to help keep the level, the standard, the emotions, all of that intact and help these guys. So yeah, I view it a little bit differently. And it's cool. It's a really cool feeling.
What does that look like in even just these weeks as the team prepares to come together and train in camp? Is it texting people, just communicating a little bit more, or is it more like, I'm going to give everyone their space to kind of like have the emotions that they're feeling and we'll task at hand once we're all together?
It's funny, like when the roster was named, there was a few players that I did really reach out to because I was so pumped, and especially there were new players to this roster, their first World Cup, and when I saw them, in the hotel, it's just like I remember my first World Cup and the feeling and whatever, and so yeah, I was pumped for these guys, and I think as obviously we're in media day, so we haven't seen a lot of each other, we just passed by each other, but I think when we really set in Santa Barbara and San Jose, it's gonna kick in, but the players will get a different feeling once we land in New Zealand, because it's like that's when it's real.
Right. It seems like it's a many-step process, right? It's like there's getting the call, there's doing this, there's getting ready for the send-off game, and then there's actually going to New Zealand. Yeah. How do you personally just pace yourself through all of that, even just to get to game one in the group stage?
I think it's, I learned actually from Megan Klingenberg a while back to take each day as it comes and to enjoy each moment. Like media day, I don't think everyone can say that I really enjoy media day, but this is like such a cool thing because it's so much support and people wanting to come speak about our team that's headed to the World Cup, and to enjoy all of that because the World Cup goes like that. I remember 2019, I could not believe when it was over. Like it seemed obviously so dragged on and long during it, but then when it was over, it was like I should have enjoyed some of these things more than I did. Especially because at the end we won. So I think that's how I want to look at this tournament. We have a long, 2 months together, hopefully, if we make it all the way, but take each day as it comes, work, enjoy, smile, be positive. There's going to be things that disrupt us and negatives and outside media, that kind of stuff, but that's what it's about when, you're one of the best teams in the world.
And, not to get too big into the scouting report, but being the player who, as you play for Lyon, you've played in Champions League, you see some of these players maybe up close in person.
Writing everything down.
That's right, yeah. Teammates, you're just watching and training. Yeah. But that has to feel like there's a level of just communication there as well, right? Where you have a little bit more experience, especially with so many players who are doing this for the first time and primarily play in NWSL. Yeah. Is that something where you're like, if people ask for advice, I'll give it? Or I'm going to talk about this, how do you approach that?
It's hard. It's more like a feeling if I feel, maybe a player needs it, or you can see someone's down, you can see or a player's come up to me. I did call out Alyssa in one of my last interviews saying, she called me to ask, what to pack for the World Cup. Right. It was so freaking cute, but I was just like, yeah, this is her first World Cup and she's 18 and she's calling me because she doesn't know what to pack, and it was amazing. I was like, you don't want to ask me because I pack everything. But those kind of things, I want to obviously be there, and I don't ever want to impose myself on someone that doesn't want advice or whatnot, but to just be, an ear, a bounce board or anything, just be there. I think that's one of my biggest things is don't give advice when it's not really asked for, but if you feel like they want it or they just need to vent, that's one thing that I will always do. And yeah, hopefully there's not a whole lot of it this trip.
Kind of taking that onto the field, you've been asked to do many different things, even just within your role in the midfield, depending on who you're playing, whether they need more support in the defensive midfield, whether you need to be pushing forward more. How do you approach those different game plans depending on the opponent, and just sort of like whether you're locking in with maybe like Andy or someone like Rose or Ashley?
Like I said, each day as it comes, each game as it comes. And going into a World Cup, it's like whatever is asked of you, you just do it. You know what I mean? So I think especially for the last World Cup, it was like my role changed all over the place. I was playing a 6, I was playing an 8, 10, whatever. One game I was starting, one game I wasn't. And that's how it goes. And when you get to the World Cup, it's not about you. It's not about what you're doing. It's basically like, are you doing everything you possibly can to help your team win? Whatever role you're given. You know, if they throw me at center back, you might get a lot of goals scored on, but
you'd be there happily.
Yeah. So I think, one, that's what I would say to a lot of the players coming in here, but also, you know, for me, I'm perfectly fine with whatever role Vlatko ends up giving me. If it is more defensive, if I can push up a little bit more, maybe play 6 at some point, who knows? I'm very open to whatever the team needs of me.
Well, maybe actually going back to what you said earlier, some of those moments that you wish you had been a little bit more present for, are those on-field moments? Are those even just time with teammates? What did you kind of mean by those little things that you want to be a little bit more cognizant of?
I think for me in the 19 World Cup, it was like I didn't ever know my role. Like, you know, going into the tournament, I actually wasn't a starter, but I ended up playing every single group stage game, starting every single group stage game. And then it was like the in-between where I was like, I don't know if I'm going to play the round of 16. I don't know if I'm playing the quarterfinal. Like, nonstop, like it's eating at me. And I'm thinking about it, I'm talking about it. And, you know, family and friends obviously were very supportive during that time, and I'm lucky. But it's just like, it is what it is. And again, you were there for, you know, one of the biggest, if not the biggest tournament in the world. And I wish I had enjoyed it more, because looking back, there's so many nights that I kept myself awake or stressing, and it was just like I couldn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to, because there's so many unknowns. But that's how it goes. You know, you have 23 of the best players in the country. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be crazy. This whole tournament is so hectic. You know, the outside viewer thinks it's like, you know, everything. Like, this is, nothing could go wrong. Like, you're playing for your national team. You're at the biggest stage. Like, it's the best thing in the world. But there's so many things that go into it. You know, the trainings and nonstop together in a hotel. You know, confined. Like, there's a lot, and it's stressful. So it's easy for me to say, just enjoy it more, but to actively try to tell yourself, like, be positive, enjoy this. You know, smile. This stress is like incredible stress. Like, people would die for these opportunities. I think that's how I come by.
So for you, like, what's a perfect down afternoon? Like, what's the thing that you like to do off the field when you're at a tournament like this?
Yeah, I just had this question too. It's so funny, because when I'm off the field, I just like want to watch football. So like, if I can go get a coffee and like watch football the rest of the day. Like, the World Cup's amazing, especially at the beginning, because like, if
just
you're
non-stop,
not,
right?
if you're not playing, then there's 3 games on that you get to watch, and then you get to train. Like, and I'm a footballer, so it's just like everything I want to do is about football, and like learning and processing, watching our trainings or our games back, and things like that. So that's like one of the best things about the World Cup is you're just nonstop football.
And then last real quick one, what's like the last song that you're listening to before you're like walking into the locker room? What's like, you're on the bus, you're getting locked in, what are you listening to?
Something Drake, Eminem, like he's thrown in there a bunch. Mike, I don't know if you guys know Mike. Mike is great. Listen to Mike. Mike, period.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Lindsey.
Yes, thank you so much.